to episode 85, a recap.
Episode 85 of No Room for Phonies.
Yes, a recap of our conversation with Brad and Julie, Brad McLean and Julie Stitt. And we had them at our house and we had dinner and it was very fun. And so we're just going to give you the top 10 things we talked about to hopefully inspire you to go and actually listen to
the conversation. Or watch the conversation.
So the big quote that I'm doing this time comes from the book by Jody Wilson-Raybould. I don't know if this is her newest book, but it's called True Reconciliation, How to Be a Force for Change. So she says, change is driven by the forces and actions of all of us. The heart of human connection and understanding is knowing from whom and where another comes and recognizing and respecting that. This is how connection and understanding are made. And then in the book, she talks about sort of the two tracks for change. And she's talking about Indigenous people, but I mean, I think it applies to a lot of different things. But track one is the social and economic disparities of Indigenous people. And track two is recognizing and respecting their rights. So getting down to changing laws and policies, honoring treaties and implementing new practice. And her theory is that you can't, like we spend a lot of time on the social and economic disparities and we throw money at that, where track two, which is the thing that will really make for long-lasting change, is actually ignored. And her theory is that you have to actually do both things at the same time.
Right. Well, and going back to that other book that I'm still reading, but that about change and the immunity to change is the deep-seated beliefs that, so even politicians even say, oh yeah, we need to do this and this and this, but they do things.
There's not the political will.
No, but they do the opposite of what they say.
Yes.
Or they build in these long-term systems of economic money things and whatever. They don't want those to go away because it provides them jobs.
And I mean, the fact that we still have the Indian Act after all these years.
Yeah, that it's still called that.
Well, and it's still called that, yes.
So
anyway, her book, I mean, if you haven't read, I mean, some people don't like the controversy of Jody Wilson-Raybould because of the situation with Trudeau and some of the the back and forth, the he said, she said. But I really respect her, and I think she's quite brilliant, and I think she's almost too brilliant for her own good. So that's my opinion, that she sees things sort of way out there where people, and the other thing is,
well, that's the same thing though, but if a man was too brilliant for his own good, he would be respected and revered, and if a woman does it.
Well, it's just the same thing that makes me angry about accusations about this woman, and I don't care what your opinion about well, I don't care what your opinion is about Meghan Markle. That's not kind of my discussion, but it just seems like strong, outspoken women are always treated, especially if they choose a platform and go for it.
Yeah.
Then they're she's so whatever and whatever,
Yeah.
So, but this book is, if you have never understood or read the history of Indigenous peoples in Canada, you actually, because she spends actually most of the book, because her belief is that you have to learn, understand, and then act. Not and then act, but you have to learn and understand while you're acting so that you get better at doing things. And I noticed when we were at that play on Saturday night that they said this is just the beginning. Like they recognize the territory,
yes,
but they recognize that they actually said this is just the beginning of what needs to be done. And that would be a very, like, I felt maybe that person had read this book because that is exactly what she's saying. Nothing wrong with doing all those things, but that's not, that's not what it's just
peeling back
it's just a land acknowledgement.
Yeah.
It's not, doesn't change. So anyway, it's a very, 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 very good book. All her books that I've read are.
Oh, the other thing I like is the first part of the quote there. The heart of human connection and understanding is knowing from whom and where another comes. That goes back to the other couple that we read their book about love, and it's the turn towards.
Yes.
So if you turn towards somebody,
yes,
you will understand and know
exactly
from whom and from where.
You know, and I try to do that when I get frustrated with people. I just think, you know, they've got, I mean, I do that for kids all the time. I'll say, oh, well, he's acting this way because he's tired, or he's not feeling the greatest, or he's this, or he's that. And I mean, you give people the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah. And we do it for kids a little bit easier, probably.
Yeah, but I mean, we should be seeking to seek first to understand, right? So the top 10 things that we talked about
with Brad and Julie.
With Brad and Julie. So the first one was the reality of change management. Like, we really spent quite a bit of time, and even the dark reality of change management, that it's, you know,
it's not a bowl of cherries.
And the second thing that I thought was...
it is a bowl of cherries, but we're stuck in the pits.
Yeah, that's it. It's a bowl of cherries. But it was a great discussion about that. And, you know, they're both very, like, realistic people. So, and then number 2 is that circumstances are always in motion. And to change our expectations of how quickly change is going to happen, or to even kind of have no expectation of how the change is going to unfold, but so that you're always looking forward, but not having these big expectations of what actually is going to happen.
Because it has to be organic. You can't predict and map
especially
it all
out. In a big organization where there's lots of
where we want change to happen is either political systems or other big systems, and it's slow. Yeah. And the third one was about staying optimistic about original ideas.
We kind of talked about keeping the whisper of change going until something is the right idea. And
I
just
like that,
with
the
patience,
whisper of change.
Just the patience and optimism that takes.
That's like also the gentle rain. That's
the same idea, right? And then the fourth thing that I took out of it was the idea of circling back. And kind of when dropping things, but then you pick them up again. So something might not happen right away, but it's still kind of there.
Right.
And so you can circle back and when the time is right, kind of grab it.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually doing a bit of that at work in my calendar. I'll think ahead. Maybe I can revisit this in 6 weeks or 2 months, and I put it in my calendar to write the email, call the person back again.
Yeah. No, it's true. And then 5 that I took from it was admitting when something is a bad idea and having enough close friends to have the conversation and to kind of put ego aside and move on from something that absolutely will not work. So.
And the 6th thing is that change takes a lot of energy.
Like Julie, I mean, I haven't seen Brad so much at work, but Julie definitely is a high energy person.
Yes.
And I mean, she says that it gives her energy to be like that, but it at some level it's got to be tiring at some point.
I mean, we know that either at the end of a day or a period of a project, even I'm sure that there's fatigue.
It's tiring. And then you've got to have an ability to recruit others to have a collective impact, and then kind of having that ability to effectively present your idea, or to find somebody else who can effectively present your idea. Like, I know that when I was a principal, a lot of times I would either bring in somebody from the outside or have someone internal, like one of the staff themselves, present, because if it was just me, it was like a want, you know. But if it came from somewhere else, that's why I had always hoped I had always encouraged the board to when something really new and hard was coming down that people had to do, like a shift in IEP or report card program or something that was like, this is happening from the ministry, I always wish that the director of education would create a little encouraging module that I could play at a staff meeting, and he could just say, you know, this is what we've got to do. I know you're good for it. Like, just something so that, you know,
it would be a bit of a pick me up.
You know, like, I mean, like Sean Kennedy is all, because you only have 2 campuses, right?
Yeah.
So he can decide he's going to walk around one campus and then he might drive to another campus and walk around. Well, when you have in an elementary school, when you're the director and you have, you can't do that.
No, but you can make a video.
Yeah, which I think would have been really cool.
Absolutely.
Number
and I also
8.
think the ability to recruit others, maybe it's not always recruiting, but to encourage. Like, I just saw on Facebook again, somebody ranting about something about the counselors and the city counselors in Welland. And I'm like, okay, rather than rant on Facebook, go and get a group of people and do something appropriate, tactful, and a letter writing campaign, ask for appointments. Everybody go for appointments over the next 3 months.
Ask for a meeting, whatever. Yeah. There are lots of ways. And she actually talks about a lot of, Jody Wilson-Raybould actually talks about a lot of ways to be an activist in her book.
Doesn't involve.
That makes that, that isn't, inappropriate. So number 8, when what you are doing aligns with your vision, it takes less energy. And when the environment allows you to experience and share and celebrate joy. So when you are doing a job and you're allowed to be who you are, it certainly takes less energy to push. And then if you are in a work or a life environment that allows you to celebrate, it also makes change easier, because if change is celebrated in a big way all the time, not, oh, you made them change, how dare you?
No.
Like when your upper bosses or the other people are all kind of pushing for change in the same way, and you're celebrating that, I think that's really important. And then another one is the importance of feelings in decision making and taking the time to think things through and doing research and talking things through with someone you respect and trust, and then taking time for that reflection and that gut check.
Yeah.
Because that's really important.
I think so.
To go.
And the 10th one was just paying attention to your moral compass, because the moral compass helps you determine when something feels right. Because
if you're following your moral compass, you're always kind of working towards the next best thing. And that's all you can really do in life, is just work towards the next best thing.
Yeah.
Being a little better tomorrow than you are today, that kind of whole philosophy thing.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it was really interesting, because when I said, what are you kind of most proud of as change agents, right? It all came back to raising their kids and not their big, amazing careers. That was really what was the most important. So I think when, you and I have talked a lot about status and how we aren't really that big on it, whatever, and that we don't want our status to be not having status either. Because that's a status and it's all of itself. But
how unstatus can you be?
If you listen to this podcast, they're so very genuine. And then in the end, it really is. They're very proud of their kids and how they've changed and grown and become. And I could, I feel the same way about our kids too, about their lives. So,
So what's the next episode?
The incredible balance of naturopathic medicine in the care stream with Dr. Carrie Rongetz.
All right.
And we're not saying anything more, because it's a really cool...
It's a good episode.
It's a great episode. So that will be coming on April the 15th.
Yes.
So that's it. We hope that you tune into the full conversation, but thanks for joining us for the recap on episode 85, No Room for Phonies, a recap of our conversation about change with Brad and Julie.
Good night. Where are you going?
I was leaving.
You didn't look at.
Looking at the camera.